About that. Welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk. Apologize for the little bit of an intro there. Sarah Thomas, our leader for EduMatch, unfortunately is on the side of the road, stranded. So we're flying solo here. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. My name is Jennifer Casa-Todd. I am a teacher librarian at Cardinal Carter School in Aurora, Canada, and I'm excited to be here. I use Instagram primarily personally and getting to know some of my PLN a little bit. So we'll talk about that aspect of it. We have lots to talk about now. So I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves. Why don't we start with you, Aviva?
Hi, my name is Aviva Dunsiger, and I'm a kindergarten teacher in Ancaster, Ontario, and I primarily use Instagram to share classroom happenings and classroom learnings throughout the day, and I do post quite frequently using Instagram in that way.
And I follow Aviva's kindergarten class, and I want to be in your kindergarten class, Aviva, I have to say. So thank you so much for joining us and for lending us your perspective. So Jan?
Okay, my mic is unmuted. Hi, everyone. I'm Jan Gamble, based out in Toronto. I am an educator by day, but media personality by night, and I use my Instagram for everything. I don't necessarily tie my Instagram account to a classroom just because I travel to different classes, but I use my Instagram to share my joy in teaching, being a 21st century educator, and reminding people how they can not only help students, but help their children as well. So I like to bring the humor and the passion to my students and to my followers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jam. I don't know if I follow you. We'll have to do that before the end of the evening tonight.
I'll put my handle at the bottom here.
So not everyone will see it. What we'll do is maybe post everyone's handle at the end on Twitter. That'd be awesome. All right. And Kayla.
Hey everyone, my name is Kayla Delzer. I am a third grade teacher just outside of Fargo, North Dakota. I am also a keynote speaker. I talk a lot about social media, which is actually where I met Jen. We were both at Twitter headquarters in October, and that's where I sort of met Jen, and we hit it off and talk a lot about DigCit and sort of how to use Instagram in the classroom. I'll talk a little bit how I use Instagram in my classroom. A lot of the same ways Aviva does to share daily things that's happening in my classroom. I have an Instagrammer of the day every day that chooses to share noteworthy things from our classroom. And then I also have my own personal account. My personal account is Top Dog Teaching, and my classroom student-led account is Top Dog Kids.
Thank you so much. And yes, I also follow Kayla, and lots of inspiration there. I think, though, I have to be honest with you, this may be the first time in history that the panel on EduMatch is more heavily Canadian than American. So you're representing the US tonight, Kayla. No, I'm kidding. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining us and for chatting a little bit about Instagram. And I'm sure what you do in your respective classrooms is going to come out a little bit more as we delve further. Okay, so I guess I have a question, and that is in access. Tell me a little bit about the access to which you have Instagram in your district. And anyone who wants to go first.
So I'll just jump in quickly. Here in Toronto, so I'm with the Peel District School Board. We do have a very intense policy when it comes to social media use. Our students do need to sign a media release waiver in the beginning of the year, so that their images could be used. But for me, even if I have students sign a waiver, traditionally, I don't like to put too much of my students' faces in anything that I put out there. I prefer to use their voices or their hands when I'm promoting anything that they're doing. Unless it's with my spec ed students and I have permission from their parents, then I'll do a video just because I'm usually using it as a form of speech and language practice. Otherwise, I think in this day and age, especially with the different school boards and their social media policies, if you're going to have an Instagram account for your class, You have to separate who you are from that classroom. Too many times I've seen people post, their favorite show on their classroom Twitter handle. Really got to be careful about how you're bringing the two together.
That is a really interesting point. And maybe this will come up later, but there are some people who say, well, if you're going to go public with your Instagram and it's going to be a classroom account, that you should probably be careful about what you're posting anyway. So I know, Aviva, I think yours is a mix of, so first of all, the question about access, but certainly maybe if you could speak to the point that Jan made about using both or separating class from personal, because I don't know that you do that. So would love to hear your perspective, Aviva.
Sorry.
I think you're still muted. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. I really don't do that too much. But that said, I don't post a whole lot of personal on my Instagram account. It's largely class with like a throw in of like maybe, a dog picture or a restaurant or something. And even then I'm fairly careful before I post, and I try to think it through. Everything is public, so I kind of look at it through that lens too. And I have a mixture of people that follow me on Instagram. So it is some parents and it is some educators. So I kind of keep that there. I've tried 2 separate accounts, not with Instagram, but with Twitter before. I've not really had a whole lot of success. I just find it too hard trying to cross post and then grab stuff afterwards. So with that in mind, I do keep just to the one. Our policy is pretty similar to Jam's. Parents do sign off at the beginning of the year. It is a fairly complex waiver. This is a new one this year. And it does speak about using images and faces as well. Although I try to be careful, and I really just tend to use the faces of the parents that I've spoken to who would actually prefer that, so they could kind of look for their specific child. So I kind of go back and forth in terms of that, but I really try to capture more of the learning than the kid. I'm not looking for just a moment of, let me just make sure I have a picture of every child at the end of this day. That isn't really the purpose behind my use of the tool. It really is to try to capture the learning and give parents a better understanding of that, and maybe educators a piece of insight into that as well.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, as someone who follows you, I think that for the parents that do follow you, getting a little bit of insight as to who you are as a person, and even for the kids, is a nice touch. I mean, I love your dogs. Your dog looks like mine. So it's just an interesting perspective. I think it goes back to what you're comfortable with as an educator, for sure. And you don't want to be, I've heard cases where a teacher thought they were posting to their personal account, but really it was the classroom account. I think we have to just be diligent or thoughtful, as you said, Aviva, about posting, knowing that what you post there is going to be public, and especially as a teacher, not posting something that would be inappropriate no matter what account it's coming from. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And Kayla, would love to hear a little bit about access and responding to that question too.
Perfect. So we have access for Instagram in our district. I had it in my previous 2 districts as well. So we've actually been on Instagram for the previous 3 years, I think. Twitter, we pioneered long ago. I think we're on year 5 or 6 of that. So Twitter came first for us, and then Instagram. But I am a big believer in teaching kids how to use it the right way, starting young. I love that kindergartners are doing this. I think that they need to be doing that because they are on connected devices at home. And so I'm definitely a proponent for teaching kids how to do it in a positive way, rather than threatening and telling them all the bad things that can happen with social media. So I love that in kindergarten, she's already building, a positive respect for social media. For me, it does work better to have the 2 separate accounts. My kids don't post on my personal account ever. But my followers know that if they want to see day-to-day classroom happenings, they're not going to see that on my personal page. They will see a lot of classroom things, but if they want to see the day-to-day in and out, then they follow our classroom-led account, our student account. So I do keep them separate in that respect, and we do have full access to it, which I am very grateful for. Of course, we do have parent permission at the beginning of the year, and I know we're going to talk more about parent involvement coming up later, so I'm going to kind of save my parent comments for then.
Well, why don't we just jump into that right now? Because, we might as well. We're talking about parent engagement. So what has been the response by your parents? And have there been some reluctant parents? And how do you get them on board or on side, so to speak?
So,
and we'll start with you, maybe, Kayla.
Yeah, so in my classroom, I actually developed a digital citizenship curriculum for elementary learners, just because when I wanted to start Twitter, I was seeing that there really wasn't a specific elementary curriculum at the time. So I developed one, and I've been going through it with every class since I developed it, and I know we'll talk more about DigCit coming up, but part of that is that we have a digital citizenship boot camp that my kids go through, and they have to pass through actually 7 levels of DigCit before they become certified to help run our accounts. So before they get to be an Instagrammer of the day or a tweeter of the day or any of those things, they have to pass the boot camp, and then keep in mind the accounts are still moderated by me. But parents also come in at night for a boot camp for parents, which has been really good. So a couple of years ago when I started doing this, I thought, it's like a Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. And I thought, well, even if 3 parents come, I'll consider it successful that 3 parents came to hear about DigCit and Instagram. And actually 17 out of my 20 parents came, and I was overwhelmed by the response. So last year it happened to be timed out that my students already knew how to post, and my students were actually able to sit down next to parents and get them set up with accounts, how to register for accounts, what does a retweet mean, what's it mean if I like a photo on Instagram. They were able to guide that instruction last year. This year, the kid boot camp was the same day as the parent boot camp, so I more led the parent boot camp, but parents came, 14 out of 15. This is a smaller district I have this year. 14 out of 15 came because they want to know what's happening in the classroom, and they want to partner with me to ensure that their kids have strong digital footprints. So the reluctant parents definitely, they come around when they understand why you're doing it and that you're going to partner with them. And when you bring them into your classroom and sit down next to them and they get the feeling that you're on the same team, that makes a big difference, I think. And then they also, like Aviva said, they love to see little sneak peeks throughout the day of what their child is doing, because I think so often kids get home at the end of the day, parents ask, what did you learn in school, or what did you do in school today? And they say, I can't remember, or I don't know, or nothing. And it's like, nothing? Really? 8 hours of nothing? So I think it's good. They can go back into our account. They can be like, oh, I see you were doing subtraction with regrouping in math. Tell me about that. So I think there's a lot of power. There's a lot of risk, but the reward is greater than the risk, I believe.
Thank you so much, Kayla. And this is why Kayla and I hit it off so much, because I absolutely love the Instagrammer of the day, the Snapchatter of the day, and empowering our students with the skills that they need to navigate these spaces with the guidance of a teacher. So I absolutely love that. And I do think it is a game changer. It is a conversation changer, as you suggested, because they are now they're talking about the things that happened in school. So Aviva, what has been your experience, and how have you gotten parents on board?
Okay, well, for me, so first of all, I'm a little jealous of Kayla's 15 students because I've got 33 of them. And so I'm just a tiny bit jealous of that right now. But on top of that, I have 31 parents who have agreed to have their child's pictured or videos recorded and shared. And I do have 2 parents who haven't, but even that has changed because they've seen over the course what is shared online. And so they've agreed to have everything but the child's face evident. And so that's allowed me to share a little bit more about their day. And what I have done for these specific parents is I've still recorded some other things that I've just emailed directly to them. And so I've basically shared it in Google Drive and shared it with them so they can still get the pictures, the images, some information about their child's day, because I think that is an important piece. Now, what the kindergartners do is a little different than what Kayla's class does, because what is actually being shared is still being shared via me. So kindergartners will actually, like, they'll ask me sometimes to take pictures or to record a video of something that they've done. They know that it's going to be shared. They ask for it to go on the blog. They ask for their parents to see it. So we do it that way. And the parents know that that's really important to them, but I'm still the one that's actually publishing that work. Some of them have started to use things like Pic Collage to actually put some of their own images and information out there, but I, again, am the one that actually uploads it to Instagram or tweets it out. So it's just, I think that little extra piece, because they are that much younger and they are at different stages, and some students will share in writing and others through videos. And I do find that through the video stuff, it's easier to post directly to Twitter, where with the images, I can give a little more context when I post it on Instagram, because I'm not restricted to 140 characters. And that's really the big piece. And the parents like that. And it just meets parents in a different way. I have some parents that follow on Twitter, some that really like the blog, and others that follow through Instagram. So I think it's just that differentiated piece that's really important, because we have to meet parents where they're at as well.
Thank you so much. That is a crucial lesson too, isn't it? We differentiate for our students. We need to differentiate for our parents as well, and helping them, right? I love the boot camp for parents. I know I ran a Fears, Cheers, and Unclears event for parents in similar ways. So what are some of your fears? What are some of the things that we celebrate when it comes to using social media? And what are your unclears? What don't you know? And the more we help parents to know those tools, I think the better the communication will be. And then their choice may be Instagram, which they may not have chosen if they didn't know before. So thank you so much for that. What about explicit digital citizenship lessons that come about as a result of you using the tool in context? So my big thing, I've done lots of studying, I'm writing a book about student digital leadership, but I really, really believe that digital citizenship lessons cannot sit in isolation. So I love, Kayla, when you talked about your boot camp, and then the students are actually engaged in, what are some of the explicit lessons that you have found come up when you're using Instagram in the classroom? Anyone?
Okay, I'll jump in. I don't have any lessons per se, just because my Instagram is not linked to a classroom, so that no one really has anything that I'm held accountable in that sense. But I hold digital citizenship for myself as a poster, just because primarily the students that I teach and I advocate are students with disabilities, whether it's physical disabilities or it's autism. My general message with all my students is to see the ability. So I never want to post any image that's going to really make my students seem that they are weak or that they are helpless, but all my posts with my students is to show empowerment and their strengths and their capabilities, and to kind of break down that stigma that the general population has towards people with disabilities. So I have a bit of a criteria for myself, in the sense that I will not post things a certain way, or I will not use certain language, but my language will always be positive and uplifting, and to really show people like, wow, this is what my students are capable of doing. And I know it's working, because I get messages from people saying, wow, you know what, I admit I used to have this perception of what autism is, or what people with disabilities can and cannot do. And because of all the posts you put out there, you really put a positive, beautiful spin on it, and it's changed my perception. So I feel like I'm holding myself accountable, and ultimately other educators out there. I think I'm trying to lead by example for them as well.
Thank you so much, Jim. And I know, Aviva, your time is short, so if you could jump in with that, that would be great.
Sure. Yes, thank you, Jennifer. And I think in many ways, I would say I'm kind of similar to Jam, in terms of, because I'm the one who is doing the posting. A lot of it comes down to me looking back and kind of thinking about, okay, how is this information going to be interpreted by others? How might others actually see it? And what are some of the ways that I can protect the students, but still kind of give that positive look at what's happening within the classroom. So I think it changes a bit, and I have used tools before where I've had the students themselves using the tools, but I think it's a little bit different when I'm the one who's actually pressing the post. And so for me, a lot of it comes down to taking the time to like relook at the images or the pictures that I'm posting, sometimes not doing it until a little bit later on, so that I actually have the time to go back through it. And when doing a video, actually going and listening to it again, even though I was there to experience it, just to see if I feel comfortable in terms of the actual look and how the children are going to be maybe be interpreted by others. So just taking that extra moment, I think, has been really big for me.
Thank you so much. And Kayla, what would you say to that?
So actually, Sylvia Duckworth, Canadian friend of mine, she took 7 of my digital citizenship rules and she sketch noted them. And when she sent it to me, I did a extremely happy dance. I was so excited that she wanted to sketch note my ideas for DigCit. So I'll actually tweet it out again, and it is on my Instagram account, and this is probably backwards for all of you, I'm guessing. Oh, it's good. Yeah, it looks like this. So there's 7 of my rules there, from building a digital footprint every day to giving credit to sources that kids use. It's all on there. So all of my 7 rules are in this awesome sketch note. So it is on my Instagram, and I have tweeted it as well, but Sylvia Duckworth @SylviaDuckworth is the one who created it.
Fantastic. Thank you. I look forward to seeing that on Twitter. And I do apologize to everyone watching on Twitter that our questions were all over the place, but that's just the way it is sometimes with the live panel. I would add a couple of things, to be honest with you. I have seen lots of teachers use both Twitter and Instagram with their classes. And similar to what Kayla said, I think beyond sort of the day-to-day, this is what we post, I would add a couple of things. I would firstly say that using the language of connections versus followers is really important in terms of messaging for kids. I personally think, if we're so caught up on how many people we're following versus, who are these classes we can learn from? So I think really using that language is important. Knowing what kids have access and talking about access with our class is really, really important. I would also say it would be important, even if you're making this up, but to block and screenshot and report someone. To do that together with your class will empower them to know that if something makes them uncomfortable, you could block it. And I mean, it could happen naturally. I haven't really had to block anyone on Instagram, but you could say, let's look at, this and see how we might block it and screenshot this. Just so again, the more we do that with students, I think the better off we are. It's social media. Most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, we have positive experiences because we're connected with an amazing educational community. But for those times when we don't, or they may be on their own, because we don't know what happens at home, giving them those skills, I think, is really, really important. So those would be the ones that I would say. I would also say going into your settings and just checking. Oh, we're public. They haven't changed anything. Just so they know to go into their settings and know the difference between private and public and unlisted. Those would be the things that I would certainly add. So we are going to wrap up. Hopefully we're going to follow up on Twitter. I would love to see that using the EduMatch hashtag. And then anyone that you would recommend on Instagram, would love to see that. But maybe what advice would you give to someone who's thinking of using Instagram in education with their class? Kayla, why don't we start with you? What's one 30-second, positive, what would you say?
30 seconds is really hard. I think just go for it. Do your research beforehand, get parents on board, get administrators on board, and get your kids excited about it. My kids, they know the calendar. They plan for when they're going to be Instagrammer and tweeter of the day. Parents plan for it. Get your parents interacting because it's really cool. Like Jennifer, if you like one of our tweets, my kids see it, they get excited about it. They get really excited if a mom likes a tweet or a mom tweets to them during the day. So be brave, be ready to be a little uncomfortable, but do your research, and sometimes the uncomfortableness is good because it's change, and change can be good. So embrace that, I guess.
It's true, right? Those messy moments are where we learn and grow. Absolutely. And Jam, do you have a 30-second?
Yeah, just to echo that, definitely be brave when trying it. Do not get caught up in all the trends that comes with having a social media account. Oftentimes we feel that we need to have the right hashtags and we have to have X amount of people liking our post, or we have to post on an hourly or daily basis. Take it in strides, go at your own pace. Remember, if it's your classroom Twitter, have your kids involved in the whole process. It's definitely a journey in education, and most importantly, enjoy it.
Thank you so much. And I would say, just because I'm a huge advocate for student voice, follow some really inspirational kids. I'm going to post some, but Joshua's Heart, Joshua Williams, he's an amazing role model, 14-year-old, Chloe Cares, 9-year-old, who is creating care bags. And I just discovered a young man named King Na, who is a motivational speaker at 11 years old. And he always has something worthwhile to share. So I think the more opportunities we can give to our kids to see that there is learning that can happen with Instagram, I think the better off we all will be. I cannot thank you enough for being on panel with us. Aviva, sorry you had to go, but thank you, thank you. Kayla, thank you from bottom of my heart for being here. And Jam, we'll see you soon. Thank you, Sarah. Good luck with your car. And signing off. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Wanted to definitely thank you all for an awesome show and for stepping up when chaos struck. But definitely safely to my destination. So definitely wanted to thank Jen, wanted to thank Jam, wanted to thank Kayla and Aviva. And the transcript of this chat will be available within probably an hour, and the podcast will be available on iTunes. So check us out next week. We're going to be talking about global educational events, same bad time, same bad channel. So everyone have a wonderful week, and thanks again.
Night.